Hey, this is Scott Wark for the Metal Voice, and I'm here in Ottawa, Canada at the Brass Monkey with the one and only GEOFF TATE, Operation Mindcrime. So Jeff, the key, that is the new album, and we know it's going to be a trilogy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Part 2, how far along is part 2, and when might we see it?
Well, part 2 is primarily finished. We just have to mix it, which we're doing when we get home next week, actually. So we have to turn it in, I think, June 1st.
Oh,
so just right around the corner.
that's awesome. And part 3, is it musically
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
So it's pretty much complete then too?
Pretty far along, yeah.
Wow.
Again, it's just doing overdubs and mixing. You know, mixing takes a long time.
Is the musical direction of the two of them similar to part 1, or?
So it's always difficult for me to describe where it's going. I know from a musician standpoint, what we want to try to do with each record in this trilogy was to advance our perception of music to a different level each time, kind of get more progressive as we go. For instance, on the second album that's coming out, there's longer arrangements on the songs, more movements, you know, separate movements, rather than it being kind of a standard arrangement that maybe people are used to. You know, we kind of went more with our early influences of Yes and King Crimson, early Genesis as kind of a model, you know, but then infuse that with you know, the modern technology and
Yeah, of course.
modern instruments that we have now.
You had mentioned some influences, and your voice is very unique. And I always wondered who were your original influences to sing and play in a band, because I really don't detect influences in your voice. You know what I mean? Like you have a very original voice. I think there's now people that sound like GEOFF TATE.
Yeah.
But when you came out, I didn't detect. So who were your influences to?
So I listened to everybody, you know, from Otis Redding to John Anderson to, you know, Kate Bush to Mamas and Papas, you know. I just kind of take from everybody that I admire and like, and try to find ways of bringing those influences into my music.
Which you recently did a guest vocal on the Thasher album,
Yeah.
Ghost Lights. Killer vocal, I might add. It's absolutely tremendous. And
Thank you.
what was that like? Did you do that one at home, or?
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Yeah, they sent me the track, and it was one of those tracks that immediately I related to it because of the style. It's very classically oriented.
It's great, yeah.
And then I just started playing around with it and seeing what I could do and kind of what fit within the framework of what they'd written, you know. And I just recorded it in my studio.
Which brings me to this question: with everything you've done in the last few years since your time with Queensryche ended, would you ever consider going back, or do you think there's any new ground to break in that band?
Oh, back with Queensryche?
Yeah. Like you've done so much and you've come so far.
You know,
It's
there's the spirit of the deal.
mhm.
You know, when you how do you put it? How do I put it? When you betray somebody so badly, when you hurt them so badly, it's really hard for the other person to, you know, forgive, you know, to an extent where, hey, everything's fine, let's make music together. Making music together is very personal. You know, you just don't do that with everybody. You know, you can't.
No. And that's the feeling that I got from, you wouldn't go back for money or any ridiculous reasons like that.
Take the money.
You've moved forward. You've done lots of great
Thanks, the money was good. Yeah.
You know what?
No, really, it's not. At this point in my life, it's not
Exactly. So the myth, there's an old band, and Kelly's in your band now, Kelly Gray playing guitar. Is there any chance you recorded a demo with them a long time ago? Is there any chance that that would ever see an official release, or you
The demo?
guys may re-record some of those tracks, or?
Well, a lot of those tracks turned into Queensryche tracks.
Well, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like No Sanctuary, Take Hold of the Flame,
There is a version of Walk in the Shadows.
Walk in
too,
the
right?
Shadows, yeah, there's a couple other ones I can't remember right off.
But they're quite different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite different. But,
It's very interesting.
yeah, you know, maybe, actually, the intro to the show that we're doing now is taken from that demo, from a song called Let Us Pray, that, yeah, it's on the demo. We took the intro and attached it to the beginning of the show.
Well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Maybe, to answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah,
I go back and listen to that
I
song.
just-
There's a couple tracks that I really still quite like in my head, although I haven't heard them in, you know, decades.
With this, what do you think of the AC/DC situation? Completely different question.
Oh, are you talking about with Brian?
Brian, yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
they should?
I don't know everything about it. I just, through Simon, our drummer, who played with AC/DC for years, I know that Brian can't tour. And they had this massive tour booked, and
Yeah.
so they're looking for a replacement singer. And I heard something about Axl Rose is, yeah.
It's hard to replace Brian Johnson.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how they could. I really don't. Brian's one of the nicest, coolest guys I've ever met in the business. And not just because he refuses to let you buy him a drink, but he's always buying rounds for everybody. When we toured with him, every night he would hold a party in some local pub, and the place would be packed full of people, and he would buy everybody drinks all night long. You weren't allowed to take your wallet out, you know. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he'd ring his own bell. He'd get it ringing a bell.
Which reminds me, are you going to tour anymore? This is the last date of
Tonight's the last date of the tour.
this leg.
Yes, and we are going to Europe in June for a festival or two, but not until we won't be touring again until winter with the release of the new album.
The release of the new album. The Key Part 2. Will it be called The Key Part 2?
No.
Nope.
We have a new name, a different name, a longer name.
Awesome. Well, I cannot wait to hear it. And Part 3. I also should ask, do you ever think you'll do a book? An autobiography?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Probably sometime.
that would be great.
Once I have a little bit more life experience.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for recording. Peace out, people.